May, there we go. That's what I was going to ask. And we'll be turning that off before the sharing from the group. So thank you.
So, welcome back, friends. We'll do a second meditation now for about 10 minutes. And this one's going to be a little bit different. Our first meditation was focused on our bodies, our breathing, following our breathing, really basic meditation instruction and practice. This time we'll do what's called a guided meditation, and one where we will look deeply together into, in this case, the the focus of our time together this evening, which is engaged practice. Engaged practice or engaged Buddhism is a term very closely associated with our beloved teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, or Thai. And so we're going to explore that a little bit together in meditation. So I will invite the bell again for us to begin. As I do that, please settle in. Breathing in, I am aware that my body is sitting now. Breathing out, settling and centering my body. In, sitting now. Out, settling and centering. Breathing in, my body is upright and balanced. Breathing out, my mind is relaxed and alert. In, body balanced. Out, mind relaxed. Breathing in, I am aware that my body is breathing. Breathing out, I enjoy each breath. In, body breathing. Out, enjoying breathing. Breathing in, I see that my body and mind are not separate. Breathing out, I understand that everything is connected. In, no separation. Out, everything connected. Breathing in, I know that this body is made from all the elements: earth, air, fire, and water. Breathing out, knowing that I am the living earth. In, I am made from all the elements. Out, I am the earth, and the earth is me. Breathing in, knowing that I depend on Mother Earth for nourishment, health, life itself. Breathing out, realizing that Mother Earth depends on me to love and care for her. In, I depend on Mother Earth. Out, Mother Earth depends on me. Breathing in, with my eyes open now, I see that I am not really here alone. Breathing out, I see that all of us are also here, that we are practicing together. And I smile. In, not alone. Out, practicing together. Breathing in, I see that I am one cell in the Sangha body, in the social body, in the earth body. Breathing out, I know that I do not practice only for myself or live only for myself. In, I am one cell in a larger body. Out, not living only for myself. Breathing in, I depend on community and society for every aspect of my daily life. Breathing out, I understand I cannot be healthy unless my community and society are healthy. In, depending on community. Out, wanting a healthy community. Breathing in, when I look deeply, I see that I am not separate from everything and everyone. Breathing out, I know that my life is not separate from the life of my society and of my planet. In, not separate from anything. Out, my life, part of the larger life. Breathing in, I begin to see that my practice is not separate from my life. Breathing out, I see that my mindfulness is not separate from my actions. In, practice, life, not separate. Out, mindfulness, action, also not separate. And now, breathing in, let's just relax our bodies again. Breathing out, letting go of any tension in the body. In, relaxing the body. Out, letting go of tension. Breathing in, allowing the mind to relax. Breathing out, letting go of all the words and all the thoughts. In, mind relaxed. Out, letting go. Just breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Happy and grateful to be alive. I'll invite the bell again, and gently, easily, we'll open our eyes and come out of our guided meditation. So thank you, friends, for our practice together. I appreciated that, and I hope you enjoyed it. So we're going to talk for a while. I will share some more on what engaged practice or engaged Buddhism has meant for me. And after that, let's see, we're at about 10 minutes before 8. We'll talk until about 10 after 8. Hopefully there may be some time for Q&A. And then we'll do some Dharma sharing where you will have an opportunity to share about what's in your hearts and minds related to what we're looking at together tonight, engaged practice. Dear Thai, dear Sangha, as we saw, or as I shared in the guided meditation, I don't see a separation between practice and action, between meditation and engagement. In fact, a very central teaching of the Buddha and of all the teachers of Buddhism, including Thich Nhat Hanh, is that there really is no separation between anything, that everything is made of everything else. There's this wonderful image of Indra's net, this vast shimmering net with just an inconceivable number of connections where there are nodes of the net, and at each node there's a mirror, and each mirror just sparkles with the reflection of every other mirror, every other node in Indra's net. And each of us and everything else too, we are one node in Indra's net, and we're all connected. And when something is happening in one of us, it reflects and changes all of us. So it's not really an either or. Should I sit and practice on the cushion, participate in Indigo Sangha and other practice opportunities? Of course we should. And of course that's going to be meaningful and enjoyable for us. Do we also participate fully in the world? Of course we do. Whether we intend to or not, we're part of it. Everything is part of us. Everything we do affects everything else, and we are affected by everything that's going on. So for me, it's not an either or. Do I get engaged or do I sit? It's a both and. Um, Thich Nhat Hanh famously uh, said, and it's been quoted many, many, many times, we practice, we meditate in order to see more clearly. What's the point of seeing more clearly if we don't act on what we see? So I think that's really, in a nutshell, what engaged practice means to me. Not only do we do our best in engaged practice to bring that practice to our actions in the world, to try to bring some equanimity, some understanding, some compassion as we engage with other people and situations and with our environment. Um, but I strongly believe that we bring our world to our practice. And I like to think of it in terms of a 360-degree practice, uh, where we're trying to expand our awareness, become more aware of every aspect of our lives and of the world and society around us. Um, in our practice, it often comes relatively easily, not so easily, to deal with certain aspects of our feelings and our perceptions. Perhaps to look deeply into our family relationships, our household activities, our work situations, our sangha situations, and all of that, of course, is immediate to our lives. And we want to bring our understanding and compassion to all of that and to be aware of how it shapes us and we shape it. Um, but we're also affected, of course, by our wider social environment and our wider uh, ecosystem and planetary environment. And I feel that our practice is enriched as we expand our scope or view of what we look at as a part of our life. And again, as Ty said, what's the point of expanding our awareness of seeing more deeply if we don't act on what we see? Of course, sometimes the appropriate action is not to do anything, but it's not a not doing that's based on fear or based on a sense of powerlessness, and certainly not based on a sense of indifference. Sometimes the best thing to do is nothing. But there are other times where, we can engage skillfully with the intention to be of service. And that too is a part of engaged practice. So no separation between practice and action. I mean, there will be a different emphasis at different times. There's a time to sit. There's a time to stand, and there's a time to move and be in the world. Another aspect of engaged practice I'd like to offer is community and empowerment. So, as Heather said, she and I and others have both been regional community builders within the Earth Holder community. And I've actually been part of the Florida Earth Holder community for 5 or 6 or maybe even more years now. but I remember so well the first couple of times that we met. This was pre-COVID, and we were able to meet in the meditation hall of our local Sangha, the Florida Community of Mindfulness. And it was quite a good turnout for these meetings, 25 or 30 people, all sitting in a circle. And we started by going around the circle just so we could not only introduce ourselves, but say why we were there. And it was fascinating to me because basically each of us said pretty much the same thing. And so this was an Earth Holder group, so it was focused primarily on environment and on climate. And what people would say is, oh, I've just felt so confused and kind of helpless to do anything. And I haven't known quite what to believe, and I certainly haven't known quite what to do. But it's troubled me, but I haven't been able to do anything with that suffering. But now that I'm here, I really feel empowered, and I feel much better, and I feel like we can act together. And then the next person would say pretty much the same thing. I haven't known what to do. I haven't had any sense of agency. I've been very bothered, but, nowhere to go with it. And we went around the room, everyone basically saying, now that I've heard you all say, that you've been confused and hopeless and unempowered, I feel great. I feel like we have power together. I feel like together, we can figure out what to do that would be helpful, and we can do it together. And I feel so much better. And there's a great truth to that. And I remember Joanna Macy, one of the wonderful teachers that Heather and I both deeply love and respect, saying the most valuable thing you can do for the climate and for other social ills is, for starters, come together in community. That's not the only thing to do. Then, the community learns more together and hopefully gets to the point where, it decides to act in some helpful way. But forming community, we feel happier, we feel stronger, we certainly are wiser. I am a deep believer in that. The collective mind is wiser than any individual mind, more knowledgeable than any individual mind. So community is really empowering, and we take care of one another in community. Maybe one day I'm down, but you're up. I'm feeling flat, but you're inspired, and I'm inspired by you. I may not have any ideas, but you will. And like that. So community and empowerment tend to go together. And one of our I think this is a fairly commonplace observation, that one of our main difficulties with, with our social concerns, our environmental and climate concerns, our other global problems, is we don't feel empowered because we're separate, or we think we're separate. And then another thing I'd like to really emphasize is communication. In one of the mindfulness trainings that our teacher Thich Nhat Hanh has developed and offered for us, the focus is on communication. And it starts right off by saying lack of communication always creates suffering. That always is really striking to me. And the flip side of that is true. Communication, especially honest communication, uh, done with the intention of being helpful, um, is always healing. And, one of the things we come up against pretty quickly in engaged practice out in the world, whether it's around climate or around race or around economic inequality or whatever it may be, is this sense of polarization. That, well, I can communicate with, the people who are of like mind with me, but those other people, you know, there's no communicating with them. And then, I've been hearing, and probably you have too, the next step, which I call othering. Not only are those people wrong and hard to communicate with, but they're bad. Even sometimes we're hearing now, they're evil. And of course, those people think the same thing about us. I mean, that's really a very dangerous two-edged sword. And one of the important practices, and I think one of the challenges uh, we face uh, generally, and certainly, those of us who are doing our best to bring our practice to engagement in the world, is remembering to be understanding, remembering to be compassionate, remembering that we're really not separate, that what seem to be intractable, polarities are really, um, there's a lot of connection there. So, as far as people go, I mean, we all want to be healthy. We all want our friends to be healthy, our children or grandchildren or our friends' children to be healthy. Uh, Fundamentally, we all want the planet to be healthy. Recently, I heard a webinar with, among others, Christiana Figueres. I don't know if you recognize her name, but she was the UN climate person charged with facilitating and bringing together 192, or maybe it was 195 countries in the Paris climate talks in 2015. The only time in all of those, now I think 27 or 28 talks, where every country in attendance came to some basic agreement around a climate plan. And that is still the gold standard. It's not necessarily being followed as well as we'd like, but at least there was some basic agreement that if we want to hold climate change to around 1.5 degrees centigrade, which we're pretty much at already, here's what we need to commit to doing in terms of cutting greenhouse gas emissions and so on. And she was talking about how in this webinar, how she prepared. I mean, she didn't just walk into that meeting cold and expect everyone to listen to her say, okay, so here's what the problem is, here's what we need to do. We all agree on that, right? We're all ready to sign off. I mean, she knew that wasn't going to go anywhere. It never had before, and it really hasn't since. But then she spent a lot of time talking with the leaders, or climate leaders in the various countries. And in particular, she talked about Saudi Arabia, where she spent more time than anywhere else before those Paris meetings. for reasons I think are pretty obvious. They're a petrostate, been made very wealthy by their oil. But nonetheless, they live in the desert, and if temperatures rise, to an intolerable, unhealthy level, that's not going to be good for them either. So she went to Saudi Arabia, and she came into these meetings, and she said, "Can you help me think about this situation? Not, here's what I think, No, can you help me think about this? Can we think about this together?" And she asked questions like, what for you would be a good outcome to these talks and to this overall situation? She was trying to understand, what people's hopes were, what people's fears were. And instead of othering them, which immediately creates, separation and conflict, she was bringing them into community, bringing them into communication. And that was her approach throughout. I might add that she was and is not only a practitioner of meditation, but a close and devoted student of Thich Nhat Hanh, and very active in the Plum Village community that he created. I found that very inspiring and very helpful. And I can't say I've had a lot of opportunity to put it to the test, but I think I'm going to in the near future, and I will do my best to put that into practice. That's bringing practice into the action in the world. And I'm quite sure that the experiences that I will have trying to do that, hopefully succeeding a bit, but probably failing some, I'll bring that action back into my practice and sit with that, and hopefully be a better practitioner for that experience. So there's a lot more I could say. We're just about out of time, but there is just one other piece I'd like to mention briefly. So in the Earth holder community, some of us are being encouraged to form what we're calling beloved community circles. Small groups of people who live close together, who either know one another well from practicing together for years, or will come to know one another well, care about one another, and would like to take action together in their local communities. So we've formed in Tampa, Florida, where I live, not the most progressive community in the country, but it's our home. We've formed a beloved community circle. We've been meeting every 2-3 weeks for, I guess, maybe 3 months now. And we've come to decide on an action we'd like to take together. Our Tampa City Council and City Mayor both have plans, not quite identical, but plans to bring our community into at least the city of Tampa being 100% renewable energy by 2035, or in the mayor's case, by 2045. And having passed those resolutions, I suspect they've been filed in the bottom of the file cabinet in the far room of their offices. So, we would like to support and encourage them to start acting on that. It will not happen on its own, and not to just kick the can down the road for, a city council and a mayor later. Our local utility is determined to replace its coal-fired plants with gas-fueled power plants, also another fossil fuel, and they're pretty determined to do that. So we're going to have some real good practice opportunities as we go forward with this. And perhaps sometime in the future I'll get to report back to you on just how that went. But I am going to try and remember we're not separate, to form community, help us think about this. Let's see how we can do this together. And to communicate in as loving a way as we can manage, with as much understanding and compassion as we can manage. So thank you for your attention. And we're going to shift into Dharma sharing, where you can share, your thoughts and feelings about what you've heard or your own experiences. Heather, are we going to break into small groups, or all do this